everyone wants the studs at the top of the quarterback rankings, but these next guys are where the real gems are found. Let's talk through our next tier of quarterbacks now.
Let's go.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dynasty After Dark. I'm your host, Calvin Timms, and my co-host is here, Dale Terry. The man is back, the legend, Dale. He's got his play for cats. You know, he talked about it last time, so make sure you go. Oh no, wait, sorry. He's rocking hard bodies. That's what he's. Dale loves the hard bodies. Yeah. But he's here for this one. We're going to be doing our rankings over the next couple of weeks. We got the NFL draft coming up in about a month. We'll finish up the rankings right before the draft. And real quick, before we get into it, we said on the last one that if we get five comments saying that you want us to do a live rookie draft recap, going through it with you guys, we will do that. So hit us up in the comments down below. If you want us to do a live one, we need at least 5. It's not very many. So, we get a couple hundred views on these videos and we're growing thanks to you guys. But we can't do it without you guys. So we need you guys to comment. That'll help us and torture us as well. So, win-win for you guys. All right. That said, make sure you go over to our Twitters. Follow us on Twitter, TC_Calvin, Dynasty_Dale, and at FF After Dark. Podcast is on YouTube, Spotify, Google, Apple, everywhere podcasts are found. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. So that said, we're going to get into our next tier of quarterback rankings here. Last time we went through quarterbacks 1 through 6. We're going to be going through 7 through 12 here today. And this is where it gets a little bit more interesting, how we're going to rank these guys and who we think the next tier of guys are, the up-and-comers, and who are being a little undervalued. So it's going to be a fun one. But for that, Dale, how we doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm feeling spunky and ready to talk about some of these guys.
Oh, all these hard bodies got funky guys.
I know.
He's taking the After Dark too seriously. Dale,
It is definitely After Dark, yes.
Yeah, there we go. We gotta tune it down, man. Tone it down. But it's a good time. It's a good time. I'm excited for draft, man. I think this draft is gonna be so much fun. I'm curious to see if anybody trades their draft picks before the actual NFL draft kicks off.
And with that, I've been hearing that the Jets might trade down potentially.
It makes sense. It really
does.
does.
I've been hearing that, and then I've been hearing that they might get Brock Bowers, which would be interesting. And
I think Brock Bowers makes a ton of sense, to be honest with you. But
he does. I think he's going to get taken before then.
I've been saying, I think, dude, you know who I think is going to take him? I'm on this so hard right now. Tennessee.
That's what I was going to say too.
Dude, everyone thinks Tennessee is taking an offensive lineman, and maybe they do, but it's going to be hard to pass up. They have completely gone all in, and I like Chig. He's a good player, but you can get a guy that can block.
He is not a
Brock Bowers, and you can get
not a Brock Bowers.
I know.
He is not a Brock Bowers.
I'm not excited about that because I don't trust Will Levis to feed a Brock Bowers, but
not at all.
If Will Levis fails this year with this offense, if they get Brock Bowers and Will Levis fails, man alive, whoever comes in next year is going to have an absolute murderer's row of amazing players, right? So
100%.
We'll see. The NFL draft is going to be fun, guys. I'm excited. So last time, real quick recap before we jump into today's rankings, we had Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes as 1A and 1B. We had those guys tied. Lamar Jackson was our quarterback 3. CJ Stroud was 4. Jalen Hurts was 5. And Joe Burrow, Joey B, he's actually tied with the guy that we have at 7 here today. So they were both 6A, 6B, but we just broke them up for this. But Joe Burrow won the tie. We talked about him last time. Tied with him, though, however, is our first quarterback that we're going to talk about, Justin Herbert. And man, I'm not going to lie. I don't think any player has had as rocky of an offseason as Justin Herbert.
It's been rough this offseason.
Oh, my gosh.
Rough.
The good news is I don't think it matters. He's so good. He's such a good player.
He is good.
I just don't love what they're doing around him. But at the same time, Greg Roman, he's made good, viable fantasy quarterbacks,
Mhm.
right? And Justin Herbert has always had the ability to rush, and he's never tapped into it at all. Um,
Yeah.
and it's funny to me. All these clips of Harbaugh over the last couple of weeks doing all these interviews and everything, people still think that they're taking a wide receiver at 5. There's no chance, guys. There's no
I don't think
chance.
they are.
They're taking
The
Joe Alt. They are taking Joe Alt
I very much
100%.
agree with that, and that's how Harbaugh really. I mean, uh,
He wants to run the
f for as much as I have a immense disdain for Jim Harbaugh, I know what he likes, and he likes to run the damn ball,
Yeah, he
and,
likes us. He likes safety
yes,
too, right? Like a
yes,
good
he does,
offensive
and
line.
and there's nothing wrong with that, and for what the Chargers need, like, they need, more stability, uh, with their coach last year. I think there was too much, instability, and there was too much going on, and, with Harbaugh coming in, I think he's gonna provide some of that in a way.
Right.
So, I think it's gonna be hilarious when Justin Herbert gets traded to the Vikings,
Oh, dude,
on
if they did
draft day
that, oh my
on
gosh,
draft
I
day,
would actually
and
be happy with that. I would be
yes, I would be
so thrilled
ecstatic.
with that, like
I would be
legitimately.
ecstatic, and yes, I would love to see that, and I think it'd be hilarious when the Chargers take JJ McCarthy and
Oh, do it,
tank.
do it, do it.
I am here for some good, Jim Harbaugh and, JJ McCarthy slander a
Oh,
little
dude,
bit,
I would have to, I wouldn't have feel bad at all about hating JJ McCarthy anymore.
Yes, yes, yes.
So,
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. So, yeah. So
all
I'm here
right,
for it. But as of right now, Justin Herbert is with the Los Angeles Chargers, and I like Justin Herbert. I know you like Justin Herbert. Most people like Justin Herbert, but like you're saying, who is he going to throw the ball to himself? Probably.
huge
He
man,
probably he probably he probably
huge.
could. Yeah, he probably could, but, I don't really trust Quentin Johnston, and, who's their other guy? Oh,
Josh Palmer.
Josh Palmer, thank you.
They're gonna get Roman Wilson around 2 or round 3.
They they probably will.
Yeah.
They probably will. Yeah, I don't disagree with that, like, they're gonna go JJ McCarthy first, Blake Corum in a second. No, I'm
No,
I'm jo
no.
I'm joking about
They'll
JJ
get Blake
McCarthy,
Corum in
but
round 2 and then Roman Wilson in round 3. They're
yeah,
gonna go
exactly.
Joe Alt, Blake Corum, Roman Wilson. That's gonna be their
Yeah,
draft
and
order.
and that and that's not bad. I feel those are decent weapons for, for potentially for Justin Herbert, but I think he takes a step down for me, and it's behind a lot of these guys. It's a Joe Burrows, it's a J you know it, you know for it's a Jalen Hurts of the world that I was dissing on,
Mhm.
in last episode. I feel worse because I know Herbert doesn't run as much as what Jalen Hurts does.
Sure.
So, I think I don't feel super good, at least this year, for Justin Herbert.
So, all right. So here's my quick take on Herbert,
Yes.
and the reason why I like him more than like a Joe Burrow, because I actually have him one spot ahead of Joe Burrow, is because I do think that he's gonna unlock a little bit more of the rushing upside. He has it. The dude's 6'6", 236 pounds. He was mobile in college, and I think he ran like a 4.6 or something 40 back when the combine. Like the dude has wheels. Like he is extremely fast. I don't think he wants to open himself up to a lot of the hits, which is why he doesn't do it a ton. But you go back to his rookie year, he had 5 rushing touchdowns. He has not, even gotten close to that. 3 the last 2 seasons that matter. In 2022, he had 0 rushing touchdowns. Like Brandon Staley, man, he was just such a bad coach. It's
He
just not
was
even fun.
he was very unpredictable, and
And then,
that's
yeah,
that's
and the
not what
big
you want.
problem last year too. So looking at the first 3 years, guys, Kellen Moore is not the answer. He's not good. He's not a great offensive coordinator. He's okay, not great. 4,300 yards as a rookie in 15 games, 5,000 in his second year in the NFL, which is just crazy in 17 games. 4,700 in his third year, and then last year through 13 games, 3,100 with Keenan Allen going absolute nuts. Quentin Johnson, who people are down on, but never gave the guy an opportunity. He ran
Right.
routes. He was open on the field. They did not use, he
He
was not the first,
definitely
second, or
did run
third
routes
read.
last year.
Dude,
He definitely ran routes last year.
there were games where Alex Erickson was the higher read in the offense than Quentin Johnson. That's a bad coaching decision. That's not even the
I
player
don't
decision.
disagree.
That's
I
not
don't.
even on Quentin Johnson. People are all blaming Quentin Johnson for this. Dude, Brandon
It's not all
Staley
his
coach
it's
no.
not all his fault. I
Brandon
mean,
Staley
some
coached
of it
scared
is.
last year. He coached scared. He did not want to lose his job. So he coached like he was going to lose his job, and he coached super conservatively. And what did that do? It lost him his job. Like it was just a bad coaching job last year. And that's where I do think Harbaugh comes in and they're going to be better. Roman Wilson or Greg Roman, sorry, he is not the most prolific passing game designer in the NFL. I'm not going to say that he is, but I think he's good enough. You go back to his time with even with Jim Harbaugh and the Niners, Colin Kaepernick was able to throw the ball. And Justin Herbert, you can't look at the last 3 years before 2023 and say that he's not a good thrower of the ball. He's much better than Colin Kaepernick. He's much better than Lamar Jackson, who took a big step forward this last year. None of those guys were even close to 4,000 yards, except for Herbert. Herbert's eclipsed that in all 3 of those years. So I think Justin Herbert is going to be perfectly fine for fantasy. People are all, doom and gloom, like, oh, he's only going to throw for 2,500 yards. Like, get out of here, guys. Get real. He's going to throw for at least 4,000 yards. It might be the low end of 4,000, but if let's say he has like 500 rushing yards on top of that, he's going to be just fine for fantasy. So I think Herbert is he's like the ultimate buy for me right now, just because he is so much cheaper, because people are terrified, especially after getting rid of Keenan Allen, who is 33 this upcoming season, guys. Like, I get it. Keenan's really good. I still like Keenan. He's old. He is definitely not worth $20 million a year, unfortunately. But yeah, they've got Quentin Johnson. They might go Malik Neighbors. There's always a chance. But they have Josh Palmer. I think that this offense is going to be just fine. They're going to add a guy either in round 2 or round 3, and it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be great, and I do think this year is going to be rougher than in future years, in my opinion.
Sure.
So I feel better, year 2 of Harbaugh than year 1, because I think they're really doing like a rebuild of everything right now, and
Yeah,
in
they
trying
need
to get
to
everything
too. Like,
straightened
there's a
up.
lot of
Yeah,
contracts, and yeah, it's not a
yes,
great situation.
absolutely. So it's gonna hurt for the first year for Herbert, but I think overall it's gonna be fine. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
he's
fine.
still going to be top 10 as long as he stays healthy.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yes,
And he's
I
young.
agree with that.
He's only 26, guys.
Yes.
Like, so yeah, Justin Herbert, go buy him, guys. Go right now. Go send offers. Go get Justin Herbert. So, all right, quarterback number 8 for us is going to be Anthony Richardson, who, started off his NFL career with a bang and unfortunately ended that very quickly. So, it's absolutely crazy to me that last year he played basically 3 games, like 2 3/4 games. Even though he had four logged here, he played all of week 1. In week 2 against Houston, he had 10 pass attempts, 6 completions for 56 yards, played 32% of snaps, and still had 18 fantasy points because he had 2 rushing
Beautiful.
touchdowns.
Beautiful.
Absolutely nuts. The dude is a killer athlete. Missed week 3, came back in week 4, played the whole game there, had 30 fantasy points, and then again goes out early against Tennessee in week 5, plays 33% of snaps, had 100 yards passing in those snaps, 5 rushing yards, and then he was done for the rest of the year with the shoulder injury. So Anthony Richardson, amazing athlete. We said this last year. We already talked about our number 1 quarterback last year, which was CJ Stroud. This guy was tied same tier as him, and I like Anthony Richardson a lot. I think that he's going to be very good for fantasy football as long as he can stay healthy. I don't love that he had 2 injuries in 5 games last year, one of them season ending. But at the same time, it should be, it was a shoulder injury and I think a concussion, right? Was that the first one? Was a concussion?
Yeah, it was.
So it's not something that I'm thinking is going to be super repeatable.
Long term.
Yeah, like I'm not betting on those. Like those aren't those are fluke injuries more than anything. So I'm not going to bet against his health until we see it for a sustained amount of time. Like Joe Burrow lost a lot of time in the last couple of years. We already talked about him as our quarterback 6. And I don't think anybody's really second guessing that so much with the talent that Anthony Richardson has. It's limited stats, but his combine, perfect 10 out of 10, RAS score. Dude's a freak of nature
Really
athletically.
is.
I'm
Yes.
loving it.
Yes.
So let's hear your
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah, I'm a little higher on Richardson than you are. I have him ranked 5.
Yep.
I'm hoping that he's not like Icarus flying
Mhm.
too close to that sun
Right.
with all this talent, that he has. So,
Yep.
I really think Steichen is going to really fine tune what
Oh
he wants
yeah.
to do.
Oh yeah.
I think he figured out the players that he has, and I feel like a lot of those guys are coming back this year, which
Yes.
I think is going to really, really help Richardson, as a whole. So,
Yep.
I think the biggest thing, well, and to add that too, like he's going to have Jonathan Taylor.
Yes.
So
He didn't have JT.
he didn't have Jonathan Taylor at all.
He had Zach Moss. Didn't have a ton of passing production either way
Oh,
through his first couple games. It does make me a little nervous for the receiving options. I like Michael
uh,
Pittman a lot.
yes, I do too. I do too.
I think Pittman's going
I
to be
feel the same way.
fine. I think Michael Pittman will be fine. I'm a little nervous about the other guys, Alec Pierce, Josh
Yep,
Downs. A lot of
agreed.
people are linking him to Brock Bowers to this team. They think that the Colts might get a little trade up
A little
happy and go and get a weapon in Brock Bowers,
right.
which I don't know if I fully believe in
That
that,
that
but
that would be very against what they usually do,
right.
personally. Yeah.
The
Anyways, I don't think it's gonna really matter.
No, no.
I feel Richardson has a very, I think, again, if he stays healthy, he's gonna be fine. He's gonna be able to, he's gonna be able to run like he needs to. He's gonna score
Mhm.
touchdowns. I think throwing is gonna be a little bit iffy at times, but it's not gonna be like horrible or anything like that.
Right.
So,
And the biggest thing,
you
like,
know,
so he played basically 2.67 games, right? He averaged 10 rushing attempts per game that he played, which is just nuts, 50
yeah,
yards a game almost. That's that's great for fantasy. He had 4 rushing touchdowns in that short amount of time. 3 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. I want to see a little bit more from the passing production, but again, Anthony Richardson was raw on that end. Either way, coming out, we'll see what
he
he can
was.
do. But either way, he had 500. He had almost 600 yards through that stretch too. So if he can pair that with the rushing on the ground, I think
He's gonna
his
be
production is very safe. Right? We've got Lamar Jackson levels of fantasy points here, and it's going to be really interesting to see what he can do with a full year of health. And
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess the best player to compare him to would be Lamar Jackson.
yeah,
In that I think I mean, for as unpolished as Lamar was as a passer,
hmm
Anthony Richardson is like, 3 times that, 3, 4
yeah,
times that,
yeah,
unfortunately.
yep.
So, of a very good athlete, not a super polished passer
He was
yet, but
decent
he's
last year though, not
yeah,
bad in
yeah,
those games.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll
So,
see.
I agree. I agree that like he's gonna figure it out. He
Yep,
will.
yep. So good player. We'll see what ultimately happens. Don't let the injury scare you off of Anthony Richardson. I think he by this upcoming season. Now, our consensus number 9 guy here is a rookie, Caleb Williams. Nothing to really see here from a stats in the NFL, but
Nope.
he's going to be going to Chicago Bears. Very good landing spot. The Chicago Bears are absolutely loaded. They've got DJ Moore. They traded for Keenan Allen. They brought in DeAndre Swift, first free agent acquisition of the entire offseason. They've got Roshan Johnson still. Upgraded offensive line. Everyone is putting them on Roma Dunze at 9. I think they're going to go offensive line personally,
And
or they're going to trade back
they
and
should
get.
go I feel they should go offensive line, but,
I agree.
whether
I think yeah, I think they're going to trade back to like 13 or 14 or something and
yeah,
go offensive line still, and just really try to protect Caleb Williams as much as possible. They also brought in Gerald Everett, who's a good pass blocking tight end as well. Paired him with Cole Kmet. Their offense is looking very solid. It's the best, probably the best year one rookie, number 1 overall pick landing spot you've ever had for
yes.
one of these guys. Caleb Williams,
Yes.
I think he's special from a college perspective. I like him a lot. I think he's got some weird stuff off the field, but as long as that doesn't change anything for on the field, like in the locker room, I don't care. Like, I really do not care about his off the field as long as the Bears believe in him and it doesn't change too much at the top. So, I think that he's going to have probably, if I had to predict year one, I think he's going to have around 3,500 passing yards. I think he's going to have probably about 25 passing touchdowns, maybe 10 interceptions, 14 interceptions, somewhere in that range. And he'll probably have around 500 rushing yards because he is a very special. People forget how good Caleb Williams is at rushing the ball. Like, it goes by the wayside a lot because he took a lot of sacks, and obviously college numbers don't separate that. So his rushing yards aren't as high as people think, but the dude is mobile, man. He is extremely mobile. So, yeah, I like Caleb Williams a lot. I have him one spot ahead of Anthony Richardson. I just think that, we just talked about Anthony Richardson and his struggles with the passing. I think Caleb Williams is a much cleaner passer than Anthony Richardson, and I think he has, not the same level of mobility as Anthony Richardson, rushing threat, but I think he's going to surprise a lot.
Here is my probably minute of hate for Caleb Williams. And I do have him ranked at 10. I do think he's going to be pretty successful.
Yep.
I don't think he's a generational quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I think the last generational quarterback we had was Andrew Luck, and
Yep.
I don't think Lawrence is generational. I don't think I mean that's just how I feel about it. So,
Sure.
um, the the game that sticks out in his college tape to me is against Notre Dame this last year, and yes, he put up numbers, he did, but he really struggled as a whole, and I
Yeah.
feel a
He
lot
tried
of
to
it.
play hero ball way too much.
Yeah, he tried to play hero ball, and that's my biggest worry is that he's gonna have all this pressure, all this everything, he does have a great team in front of him. Just like at USC. I understand the offensive line at USC, it was, as strong as a paper bag,
Mhm.
and he's going against, and it's different in the NFL to college, obviously. So, but at USC, like he did have all these great weapons and all these, it's the fastest guy on the field, that stuff like that. And that's not gonna happen in the NFL. That's my biggest worry is that there's going to be people that are a little better than him in some facets, on the field. So,
Sure.
and I think I think he's going to struggle a little bit. I'm willing to be surprised. I really want to be surprised. Like I want the kid to succeed. I think he will. In some points, I'm not worried about the off the field stuff. I'm just worried about his psyche overall. On the field. So I'm just a little worried about it. I know he can play well, do well. I need to see it before I put him up any further.
Fair enough.
So
Because, yeah, our number 10 guy is actually his division rival, who we both like a lot. You're a little bit higher. I think no, we both had Love at number 11 overall.
mhm.
Just worked out that he was right after Caleb Williams, but Jordan Love
Yep.
is our quarterback number 10 here by all the tie breaks and everything. Very good year last year, and people people are never happy, man. Like, they're
No, they're
just
not.
never happy.
They're not. They're
There were
not.
struggles, obviously, early in the season. Like, Jordan Love could not play the first half of any game that he was in last year for the first, until after the bye, essentially. It was always the first half, it's terrible. And then the second half, it's like, oh, I'm going to make magic where we're going to come back and win this somehow. Like, what just happened, right? But as the season went on and as he got a little bit more comfortable, because this was his first starting season, Jordan Love looked really good, man. And
He
he
did.
went into the
He did.
playoffs on a heater. And you look at the stats, and this is what was just so amazing to me. Finishes the quarterback number 5, which is crazy. And again, the comebacks in the early part of the season really helped with that. But 4,100 yards, 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. And this is with the youngest team that he will probably ever have. This team was the youngest in the NFL, I think by an average of like 2 years. It was absolutely
Yes, it was
nuts.
wild,
Everyone
wild.
on this team was extremely young. You look at all the receivers. Romeo Dobbs is the most senior wide receiver on this team, and he's been in the league for 3 years. This will be his 3rd year in the league. Christian Watson, who is going to a hamstring specialist to try and figure out why he has so many hamstring injuries. Jaden Reed, who they took in the 2nd round last year. Dontavian Wicks is another guy. This offense is loaded in terms of talent. They bring in Josh Jacobs this offseason, which I low-key really love. I know
I agree.
people are not excited about this, which I do not understand whatsoever. Like,
He's
why?
much better than Aaron Jones,
I
and
agree.
he's
He's 3
yeah,
years younger too. Like,
yeah, like he's
I,
gonna be
I don't
just
get
fine
it.
if not better.
You look at the
Yeah,
tight ends, they've got Luke Musgrave, they got Tucker Kraft, both 2nd rounders, or one was the 2nd, one was a 3rd, I believe this last year. They took them
yep.
back-to-back picks, typical Green Bay. They love doing that, just the same position, just hammering it in back-to-back rounds. So this team is loaded, man. They need an offensive tackle, I think, is pretty much all they need on the offensive line, and they are going to be cooking with gas. And I want to see what Jordan Love can do. And people are very down on him because he sat behind Aaron Rodgers for basically 3 years, finally gets a start and looks like a stud. Goes into this year, is probably going to get paid a decent amount of money. I think they have him on contract for this year, and then they could like franchise tag him and stuff like that. But I'm going to be interested to see if they pay him long term after in this season before the season starts. I would not be shocked if they do. But yeah, Jordan Love, man, I like the talent. I've always liked Jordan Love a lot. He needed to develop. He was raw coming
Yep,
out in
yep.
2020. But I loved it back then, and he got to sit. People hated on it and said he was going to be a bust. Guys, not everybody has to start year one. Not
Yes,
everybody has to
and
start.
I honestly feel if more quarterbacks, sat for a year,
I agree.
they would be a lot better. Just in general, and I
I agree.
know, yeah, I know financially for some teams they can't always do that. They
The,
have to
pr-
put them in.
the problem is
You
the
know,
coaching staff.
yes,
If your coaching staff is in the hot seat taking a rookie quarterback, it's not going to work out. Like, it's not going to work out. They're going to force him to play, and it's going to ruin him. Right? We saw this
yeah,
with
yeah.
Fields.
It's
We
gonna
saw
tank.
this with plenty of other guys. So
Yes,
yeah, it's just not a good situation. Jordan Love was able to develop. It's the Green Bay Packers way. And I
yep.
am very excited for this whole team to age together, right? With all these young guys in the receiving core, just to get a little bit better. And I am very excited. I
I
think Jordan Love could
one
definitely finish higher than this and jump my
Yes.
rankings
Oh, I
heavily.
100. I can see him doing another top 5 year.
Yeah, agreed.
And I very much agree with everything that you're saying. I don't think I really need to add anything personally. I really don't. That was very
Right.
well said. I agree with that wholeheartedly, and I think he's just going to be that much better with Josh Jacobs there,
Oh, yeah.
and
It's
I
going to be
think
nuts.
it's going to take a little stress off of him too. You
Yeah.
know, it does, and I feel they're more of a running play action team anyways,
Yep.
and if you have a better running back who's and you're able to get the defense to bite, like you're just going to have that better likelihood
Repeat.
of being
Right.
successful
Yeah.
on play, in those play action plays and
Yep.
stuff like that. So, I love Jordan Love, and I know you do too, and I think he's a very solid quarterback. I mean, I would be ecstatic if he was my quarterback too.
I'd be
I would be
ecstatic if he
ecstatic
was my
right.
quarterback one. Like, I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah, exactly. But
He's low key so good, man.
yeah, but I know there were some players that, like that got
They have
him
higher
pretty cheap
ceilings
in
for sure.
trades, and yeah, that that have like a Joe Burrow and a Jordan Love, for instance.
Yep.
But I would be happy as him being my quarterback one. I would feel really good about it and not have to worry about it.
Right. And I was looking through too, like the only thing stopping me from getting him up above like Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert or something, I just need to see it again. Like, that's literally it.
Yeah,
If he does
absolutely.
it again, and I'm not saying like, oh, I'm giving him praises and everything, and I think that they're going to. I like Matt LaFleur. I think he's a very good head coach, really do. Very good offensive mind as well. Um, I think that he's going to be able to repeat, and if he does, That's where I think it's going to be very good for him long term. I just need to see a little bit more. He struggled a little bit and then got it going in the second half. I do believe that that's realistic and that's what he could do, but he had a lot of touchdowns in that last half
Yes.
of the season. So if that's repeatable, which I believe it is, I want to see it again, and we can definitely move him up in our rankings. I almost feel like I'm too low, but I'm afraid to put. I'm just a chicken. I'm afraid to put him up higher.
I think we're pretty well. I think he's pretty well rated right now for what it
Sure.
is. I'm probably gonna move him up, and I'm probably gonna move a guy down that we're gonna talk about here in a little bit.
Oh,
You know,
okay,
but
okay.
but
Um,
I've already been thinking about that.
all
But
right.
that's beside.
The next guy. So Jordan Love was our quarterback 10. Number 11 here, Brock Purdy. The guy that gets no love whatsoever.
Zero love.
Jordan Love gets all the love, and Brock Purdy gets no love. This dude is
Yeah.
so good for fantasy, man. I don't understand why he's not rated higher, man. He was the
It's
quarterback 6 last year.
no, I think a lot of it is because we've seen it with the Shanahan offense. It's
Who
quarterback
cares?
crew.
Shanahan ain't
I
going
don't disagree.
nowhere.
I don't disagree. So I think the biggest question mark for Purdy is will he get a long-term contract?
Yes.
I feel that's the biggest question.
Yes.
Honestly, but
He won't get it this
is he
year,
gonna
that's for sure, but he
right?
will next
No, he
year.
won't. He won't. He won't. But like that rookie contract with him being a seventh rounder is, I think I can't remember if it's a 3 or a 4 year deal.
Four.
If you're
4-year deal.
it's a four.
Yep. He's super
So
cheap. Like he's getting like $1
yeah,
million
yeah, yeah.
for
He's
all 4
super
years.
cheap right now, and they've already had cap problems in San Fran anyways, or like cap potential issues. So it's gonna be interesting to see what they do.
They're going to sign him to like
You
a
know,
5-year deal, backload it so that they don't have to pay him for a while.
I agree. I
Yep.
agree, and it's gonna be a very team friendly deal, kind of like what Baker Mayfield did,
Yes.
with the Bucks this past offseason. I feel it's gonna be a little bit more obviously, but
Sure.
I feel it's gonna be very team friendly. And I love Brock Purdy. I love what he's done. I mean I don't get why he was a seventh round pick. I understand when he was at Iowa State his senior year.
Mhm.
He was pretty like the team wasn't good, but
Right.
that's because the year before, like a lot of players went in the draft. Like they lost a lot of the core that they had. I think it was him and I feel like it was David Montgomery was the other guy that was with him. So, like those kind of guys kind of came in at the same time. Or either I'm speaking incorrectly, but it was another running back. That's beside the point.
Right.
Yeah, but I like Brock Purdy. I like what he does. I feel he's very good at getting the right player the ball on time
Yes.
and
And
not have to worry
that's
about
what you need for Shanahan. That's all he needs.
it.
Just
Yep, 100%.
timing. Timing. And that's what Brady's very
Yep,
good at that. You go back to
100%.
his rookie year, not this last year, but the year before. First game, 15 fantasy points, 21, 16 and a half, 16, 17, 20. You go back to this last year and you got 17, 15, 21, 21, 26. Bad game against Cleveland. Cleveland was very good. 13,
Yep.
19, 24, 27,
Super
11,
solid. Super
30,
solid.
22, 25, 2, 17. And then that you go into the playoffs and the dude was just killer in the playoffs as well. Like he's not a superstar. We're not saying that, but he's just super consistent. He still has Christian McCaffrey. He might lose Brandon Ayuk, but I don't think it matters too much. Like I
I
really
don't. Yeah,
like Brandon Ayuk, and it's gonna matter to the team a little bit. But again, I've been saying this guy's name nonstop. But if they get like Roman Wilson in the top of round 2, a route running just safety valve to replace
yep,
Brandon
yeah,
Ayuk, that's all they need. That's all they need is just that guy to just be a safety
yep,
valve for the quarterback. And they've still got Debo. They still got Kittle. They've got Juwan Jennings, who has been
solid.
slowly stepping up
Yeah,
more and more. Christian McCaffrey's still there. The offensive line is still really good. Like, what are the downsides for Brock Purdy? And then at the same time, people are taking him so low. Like, people just do not want to draft him as a top guy. So, yeah, Brock Purdy, I think he's one of the safest in this draft, and he's low key. If you can get him as your quarterback too, because you can pay quarterback 2 prices for him, as your quarterback 1 even, I'm fine with it. Like I do not have a problem with it. I think he's going to be very solid for fantasy football. Again, 31 touchdowns, 11 interceptions last year. That's what he does. He's just very accurate, very timing based, and he doesn't have to force anything. He lets his guys do the work for him, right? So, good player. Good player. All right, last guy we're going to talk about here today, Kyler Murray, the midget man, Kyler Murray. Comes back this last year, and he was, obviously banged up with the ACL to start the year, lost half of 2022, came back this last year in the second half of the year, and honestly came back pretty good. They looked very, very good. Came back 1,800 yards in, 8 games? Not the best, but the receiver options weren't amazing. Much better as of right now. The entire depth chart, they have like 2 wide receivers signed, Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch. They've got Chris Moore that they signed and Zach Pascal. They're going Marv or Malik Neighbors at 4. I know people are talking about trading back, but they're getting
as long as they don't trade back, yeah.
They're getting even if they trade back, they're getting somebody. They are getting a wide 100%. Receiver in round 1. Rome Odunze, one of those top 3 guys. They're going to get him. Michael Wilson is a big steal, guys. I'm telling you. Still got Trey McBride. They've got James Conner. They brought in Michael Carter, DJ Dallas. Kyler Murray, the biggest thing for him is going to be the rushing, if they can bring that back and get that going a little bit more. Coming off the ACL, he didn't do it a ton in his 8 games last year, but he still had 244 rushing yards, which was good in 8 games. If he can double that with 17, 500 rushing yards, not bad. So I think he's going to be fine there. We just want to see a little bit more, like 600, 700, which I think they can do with the lack of passing weapons that they have this upcoming year. But Kyler's going to be back, man, and I think that people are kind of sleeping on him a little bit. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, and that's why I have him at 9. I think we're gonna see more of the Kyler of old instead of instead of the Kyler that we had last year. I think he's gonna feel more comfortable. I mean, typically, like, it takes players, like a full season to really kind of get back to feeling good and to feeling
with
like
the
you're able to
ACL.
cut,
Yep.
yeah, and do that kind of stuff. Having the ACL, so. I think once he gets another stud wide receiver, whether it's Marv or Neighbors or
Even if
whoever
it's
they draft.
Odunze, man, Odunze and
Yes.
Kyler, I think are going to be great together.
Yes,
Really
absolutely.
good.
So, I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to have a pretty solid floor, rushing, and that's why I'm higher on him than you are.
Sure.
I feel that's why I'm high on him, is because I know what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
and for fantasy, having that consistency is very key. And I feel the Cardinals themselves are going to be better. So
Sure.
so in turn, Kyler's probably going to be better. And he's going to throw for more touchdowns, a little bit more yards. He's going to
Yeah.
run. So
You'll
I think he's pretty. I mean, I wouldn't feel great with him as my quarterback 1. But if I'm in a super flex league or a 1 QB league, even if he's my QB2, I would feel ecstatic.
I don't feel terrible with him as my quarterback 1. I don't
Yeah,
love it. And the reason why I'm a little bit lower on him versus Dale is just because I don't see the ceiling that Kyler has anymore, that we
that's
once
fair.
kind of talked about. You've got a defensive minded head coach. They have a relatively unknown offensive coordinator who was okay last year. I don't think he was amazing, but he wasn't bad. We'll really get to see what he can do this upcoming season, whether or not he can prove himself as an offensive coordinator this upcoming year. But I think Kyler is going to be solid. I think he's going to be fine. I just don't think he has, his rookie year, he was quarterback number 6. Second year, quarterback number 3. Those are both Cliff Kingsbury years as well. But since then, 10, 19, where he missed half the season, 27 this last year. Combine those, he's probably around 10 as well. I just don't know if he has that super high upside because he just doesn't run the ball as much as he did. The first 2 years, 93 and 133. Year number 3, that dropped down to 88, the lowest of his season. And then, obviously last year he missed some time as well. So don't know what he was going to be able to do, but he was on pace for about 9 rushing attempts, which again is not bad, but we need to see him around 700 yards rushing for him to have that top 5 ceiling. And again, I just don't know if he's going to try to do that, especially coming off the ACL.
Right.
I've already done this once and got destroyed. Maybe I don't want to do it anymore, kind of thing. So we'll see. But Kyler, I think, is very safe, just not a stud anymore, in my opinion.
Right.
Still young, though. Still definitely very young.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, 100%.
All right, so that's our quarterback number 12. Anybody that we missed, a couple guys here on the fringes, we'll get into later on this offseason. We're going to wait for, the next tier of guys until after the landing spots where Drake May goes, where Jane Daniels goes. Those guys we talked about, we're not really comfortable putting them in our top 12. Even if, even if Jane Daniels goes to the Commanders, for example, I don't really think he's going to be a top 12 guy. He's close, but he's not quite there for me. Dak Prescott, Trevor Lawrence. We'll talk about some of these other guys on the next episode later on this offseason. But there's 7 through 12. Let us know who you liked on this list, who you didn't like, and to recap it really. We had Justin Herbert, Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, Anthony Richardson, Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, Tyler. So there's our 7 through 12. And if you want to hear our top 6, go back and check that one out. Next week, we're going to be back going through our running back rankings. And that's going to be fun because quarterback is kind of deep. Running back gets real nasty after about
real quick
6, 7. So we'll talk about them. But yeah, it's going to be fun. So make sure you guys come back for that. Again, we're going to be going through that startup mock draft rounds 11 through 20. We'll see where the real gems are in your startups to help you guys out there, for all the degenerates out there. But make sure you're following us on YouTube, on Rumble, Apple, Google, Spotify, anywhere the podcasts are found. You can find all our content if you're subscribed. Comment down below 5 comments saying that we should do a live rookie mock draft, going through it with you guys. We'll do it. Need 5 comments telling us to do that. And then if you can, like the video while you're there as well. TDC_Calvin on Twitter for myself, Dynasty_Dale for my co-host here, and FF After Dark for the podcast. Hit us up with any trade or Dynasty questions you guys might have. Dale, any last thoughts?
Send it on home.
All right, so thank you guys so much for joining us here tonight. We appreciate it. And until next time.
And we all got dreams, we all want things, but what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be?